I don't care if it's reading, taking a course, listening to an audiobook, watching a YouTube video. If you were given the option to skip literal years of bad decisions and learning the hard way and go straight to the answer, why wouldn't you do it every single time? Today, I'm sharing 5 personal finance books that were honestly critical in me reaching $100,000 in net worth by 20 years old. The first personal finance book that I ever read was Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And I know this is cliche, this is probably the #1 book that everyone references to, and I tried to avoid it, but the truth is, it is a cornerstone for a reason. Thankfully, when I was in high school, my father cared enough about my financial well-being that he made me read this book as part of my education. And here is what I learned from this classic. First, life is full of assets and liabilities. There are plenty of things like our house and the car payment and all the other expenses we have that are liabilities, meaning they take money away from us and our future selves. And then we have assets which produce income to make our future selves wealthier. So our main focus in life should be reducing liabilities, building up assets, and having these assets produce passive income, meaning income that we can actually live off of and not even have to work for past the point of the original investment. For example, if I wanted to invest early, then my goal might be to invest in stocks to the point where my annual return would actually be higher than my normal expenses, at which point I wouldn't have to work anymore for a living. The main key in this book here is that you don't want to work for someone forever. Now, not everyone has the aspirations to start a business or be an entrepreneur, but through investing alone, you can retire much sooner than 60 years old, and you don't have to work for that boss that you hate for the rest of your life to make ends meet. Early on in college, I came across book #2, which was The Richest Man in Babylon. Like the title suggests, the theme of this book is based on Babylon, which was in the Bible, and this is sharing principles of personal finance that were true way back then and still are true today. This book teaches us that the principles of wealth building are for everyone and they are timeless. So if you can grasp them, then they will serve you for the rest of your life. The main takeaway from this book is that anyone can become wealthy, and the way to do it is to take a percentage of your paycheck every single month and just put it straight into investing, and you'll thank yourself later. He goes on to discuss how the most wealthy, the most rich people have this one thing in common. They know how to develop the right skills that are in demand, that create opportunities, and then they use those opportunities to build multiple income streams, meaning they don't just rely on real estate, but they rely on stocks, and they rely on businesses, so they're well-rounded and they're set up for success. Book #3, I absolutely love this one. It's not a personal finance book per se, but The Compound Effect is a groundbreaking book on habits, and it applies perfectly to building up personal finance and investing. The book is centralized around, you guessed it, the compound effect. Albert Einstein called this the 8th wonder of the world. Put into simple terms, if you make a small investment early on, over time, it can grow into something incredibly large. And what's crazy about the compound effect is that it doesn't just grow the same amount each year. Let me explain. If you invest $1 the first year, and then it grows to $1.10, so it's grown 10 cents or a 10% return. Now that second year, your new baseline is $1.10. So if you get the same 10% return, you're not growing by the 10 cents, you're growing by 11 cents. I'll admit, that doesn't sound like a lot. An extra penny doesn't go a long way. But if we look 40 years out, that $1 has turned into 45 without you adding anything else to the investment. Think about this on a larger scale. $10,000 becomes $450,000, and $100,000 becomes 4.5 million. And that's the real beauty. It doesn't have to be so complicated. How do I get to $4 million? Well, just start by investing $10 a day or $20 a day or, $500 a month, whatever it takes to get you to that goal. And because of the compound effect, the sooner that you start, the better your reward will be. So just start small and start now. Book #4 is Set for Life, and honestly, I would recommend this maybe as the first personal finance book that anyone in high school should read. What Scott Trench does is he takes the whole concept of personal finance and financial freedom and makes it really, really simple, teaches you how to get there and how to track your progress. My unlock moment was that financial independence is real. There are people out there saying, hey, I retired at 30, I retired at 35. And these aren't, Bill Gates and very successful people. These are people who invested in some real estate early on or some stocks or, maybe started a business that was smaller and not as successful as Facebook, and yet they're retired way sooner than the average American. In fact, Scott argues that anyone can set themselves up for life if they follow the principles in this book. Core to that strategy is frugality, and this was something that I didn't know about until I came across this book, and I wish I had learned even sooner in my life. It's the concept of living below your means, meaning you're not spending everything you make, you're spending maybe 25%, 50% of what you make and investing, saving the rest. The richest man in Babylon suggested 10% of your income. Scott Trench suggests 40 to 50%. How do you do it? Well, you go against the grain. You get a little uncomfortable, you go outside of your comfort zone, you get creative. And like Robert Kiyosaki said, you turn liabilities into assets. One of the greatest things that Scott talks about is turning your house and your car into assets. For example, if you have a house, you could rent out spare bedrooms and knock down that mortgage. Or if you have a car, you could rent it out in your free time or get a cheaper used car, all cash, and have no payments. Getting to financial freedom seems impossibly hard, but if you follow the steps in this book, I truly believe that anyone can get there, and that's why Scott wrote it. Now, during the whole process of reading those 4 first books, I was putting all the principles into practice, and with any book you read, if you're not putting into practice, then you're not gonna get the benefit out of the book. Now, I'm not saying I'm perfect, and I'm definitely not anything special. I just put into practice what the books are teaching. I started working my first job at 14, so I hustled, okay? I've done a lot of side hustles, and then what did I do with that money? I didn't go spend it on a bunch of things to make me look cool or, to have fun, but what I did was I put all of it, pretty much all of it, into investments. So stocks and real estate funds and anything that I could get my hands on. And to be honest, the 100,000 snuck up on me. It's not like it happened overnight, but I also never saw it coming, and I certainly never thought I could do it by 20 years old. And now I know for a fact that you, no matter who you are or where you come from or what you're doing now, where you're at in life, you can do this as well. Number 5 is Money, Master the Game by Tony Robbins. This book came to me about a little less than a year ago, and it's perfect for where I'm at in the stage of my personal finances because I'm to the point where I have a certain, decent chunk that I'm ready to invest or that I have sitting investments, and I want to learn how to optimize them. That's what this book is all about. Tony is going to go through the nitty-gritty, boring, long details of all the different types of investments. He's going to talk about taxes. He's going to talk about strategy. He's going to talk about basically everything you need to know. You're going to want to dedicate some serious time to reading this because there is so much in there. There's a whole section on insurance and life insurance and, a bunch of stuff that you just want to skip through. But I promise you, especially once you get to a certain point in your finances, this is going to be a game changer for you. He talks about the importance of diversification, which investment vehicles to avoid, and he spends about half the book talking to successful people like Warren Buffett, for example. He breaks down their actual investing strategies, including numbers, breakdowns, and comparisons. And I like that he ends the book by talking about what matters most, which is purpose, passion. He argues, and I would argue too, that personal finance, wealth building, and early retirement is great, but it's not everything in life, especially if you don't know your why. What you really need is a path, not just how to get to where you want to be, but knowing where you want to be, defining it, saying, why do I want to be here? What will this look like? What will I do when I get there? What will be next? So here's my challenge for you. If you want to master your finances, if you want to build wealth, then I encourage you to get your hands on these books wherever books are sold. I'll include links down in the description. And let me know if you have any other favorite books for personal finance, investing, entrepreneurship. I'd love to give them a read. As always, optimize your wealth, maximize your life. I will see you all next week.